Welcome again and good morning. Jim asked me if the title was For the Love of Earth, or was it For the Love of Earth? I said, either way is okay, but love abides, right? Love abides. So thank you. So March is Women's History Month. So if we see our planet as Mother Earth, then this is a very appropriate topic for this month. It's also World Wildlife Day, and we have spring approaching. So lots of reasons for loving our Earth home. So today I want to share a bit about my book, Faith, Hope, Action. And this came about because I wanted to learn more about climate change. And so I was asking, what are the problems we're facing? What do we need to know? What do we need to do? And so I spent some time meeting with scientists, farmers, Indigenous teachers, student activists, environmental justice advocates, faith-based visionaries. One of the individuals I spoke with, some of you may know, Ray Wilson. He helped spearhead solar panels over at UUI, and lots and lots of people from the Sierra Club, Indiana Forest Alliance, Hoosier Environmental Council, just across the board, a variety of people to ask, what do we need to be doing? Help us. It ended up being 2 years instead of one. And now I'm going into year 3, and the book just arrived in the boxes like a few days ago. So I have it here with me today. I also spent time listening to nature and time just out in nature settings because nature also has a lot to teach us. So there's a lot to unpack in the book, more than I can cover in one talk. So I thought I would just highlight 3 things that I learned and share those with you. So the first is awareness of the problems is a really helpful place to be. So caring for our earth, like any close relationship we have, understanding what the problems are so that we can then do something different, right? So in a marriage, love is a necessary component, but we may need to understand the love language, right? Does this person need affection? Do they like the words? Do they like action? Learning a bit more about that relationship. It's the same with our earth, right? We all likely can say that we love our planet Earth, our home, but what do we need to be doing to show that and to demonstrate it? And what do we need to learn so that the relationship is healthy? So I talk a little bit in the book about some of the problems, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on the problems. I think a lot of people in here are probably aware of them, but pollution from plastics, microplastics, from the burning of fossil fuels, from the chemicals, in our land, in our food supply chain, destruction of our natural areas, wetlands, forests, climate disruptions, floods, wildfires, droughts. We're aware of the fires in Maui, out west in Canada. You can't not be aware of these things, I think. But that's where it can get overwhelming, right? Or discouraging, because we start to become aware and we feel upset or sad. And learning of the problems can be challenging, right? That's a hard place to be. That's where our faith is helpful. So for instance, the 7th principle, right? The interdependent web of life of which we are a part. So our faith might be belief in a higher power. It might be belief in creator, God, goddess. It might be that we have faith in nature or science or energy. It might be that we have faith in humanity. So remembering our values, remembering our faith, our principles, that's what's going to help us through the challenging part with the problems and what we need to do. It will keep us grounded. And also, so this is somewhat of good news. I think when we're overwhelmed or discouraged, it means we're not apathetic, right? We actually care. That's, I think, helpful information. So I'm going to share a quote from the book. According to NASA, and is cited by Anthony Lazarowitz, PhD, a research scientist at Yale, 97% of climate scientists have concluded that human-caused global warming is happening. Lizerwitz sums it up as follows. Scientists agree. It's real, it's happening, it's bad, but there is hope. So that brings me to the second thing I learned, is that there are lots of reasons for hope. I talked to a number of people, and they are doing incredible things to help our planet. They are working in their communities, they're working locally, nationally, internationally, to try and implement some of the solutions rather than just getting stuck in the problems. And there's also, in talking to all these different people, there's no one magic solution. I kept asking, like, what's the solution? What do we need to do? Like, just tell me the thing, right? But there's lots of things. So the problem, which is overwhelming sometimes, contains the solution. Do you understand what I mean by that? The problem contains the solution. So if the problem is so vast, the solution is also vast. It means there's lots and lots of things we can do to make a difference. And people are already doing that. So we don't have to give up or get hopeless. Our collective actions are going to make a difference. So I'm going to share briefly from the preface. This is just an example of what I said about how our actions can ripple out and affect change on a large scale. So I went down to Evansville to talk to one of the farmers. So I'll just share what I wrote. On a visit to the sprawling farmlands in southern Indiana, I met with Dorothy, who is 91 years old. She was telling me that she saw more fireflies in her yard this past summer than she has seen since she was a girl. She said, I haven't seen that many fireflies in over 65 years. It was amazing. The landscape near Dorothy's home, where she and her husband have lived for close to 70 years and where they raised their 7 children, has undergone drastic, some would say radical changes of late. An abutting 300-acre corn and soybean farm owned by her brother is now being managed by his son, Pat. Pat is a firm believer in regenerative farming. Just a few years ago, he began planting diverse native wildflowers as cover crops and stopped tilling the soil. Under Pat's management, the family farm has also significantly decreased its use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. As he explained, farmers till the land, killing the earthworms and plant roots, and then add chemicals to eliminate insects and bacteria, and we end up with dead soil. He notes that studies have shown substantial nutritional decline in our fruits and vegetables because of farm soil depletion. The result of Pat's regenerative farming efforts is healthier soil that results in better nutrition in the food crops. As an added bonus, Pat has witnessed a return of wildlife. The soil now contains worms, and the diverse native cover crops bring needed insects like bees, butterflies, and other pollinators, along with a multitude of songbirds. Eagles and hawks soar over his land, and quail make their home in a woodpile at the edge of the property. This healthy soil with deep roots from native plants also absorbs rainfall better, acting as a sponge to help alleviate flooding. What is more, the water on his land no longer contains all the harsh chemical poisons that run off into neighboring streams and water supplies. Finally, these healthier land practices store carbon dioxide in the soil, a critical step in combating global warming. Just this one person doing his small bit of good on this piece of land has benefited the entire ecosystem, including the arrival of lightning bugs in Dorothy's adjoining yard. So that's an example of how it all ripples out and impacts everything. And it goes back to that 7th principle, the interdependent web of life of which we are a part. It's all interconnected. The foods we eat, the products we buy, how we treat the land, the waters, the animals, the air, how we treat each other, how we vote, how we live upon this earth. It's all connected. Everything we do, our collective choices matter. And as we learn more, we can then make better choices. So the other thing, the third part that I want to get to is that one person alone isn't going to do it, even though that's a wonderful story and it illustrates how much of a rippling effect it has. It's going to take more than one person, right? It's going to take all of us collectively doing what we need to do to help our planet. So to illustrate that, I'll just mention, if you remember the kids in the Thailand cave who got trapped there, this is going back a ways, right? And there was a movie on Netflix about the rescue efforts. It was not one person who got them out of that situation. The waters are rising, the kids are trapped, their life is in peril. People from across the globe were pitching in to figure out what are the solutions. They were brainstorming, they were trying different things, they were using their creativity, their skills, the variety of skill sets they each brought to that dire situation, and they got the kids out. So I feel like our Earth situation is similar. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take collective efforts to meet the challenges that we face. So in the book, obviously with all the different people I talk to, there's a lot of different solutions and ways that we can help. I'm just going to touch on very briefly a couple that are mentioned by Greenpeace. Keep fossil fuels in the ground. I should back up. The point about collective action is when I mention some of these things, we can't necessarily do these as individuals. We have to have groups voicing, all of us voicing the need for this, because one person isn't going to be able to do the things I'm going to mention. That's why the collective action is so important. Keep fossil fuels in the ground. Use renewable energy sources. Reduce our carbon footprint. We need more walking and bicycle paths, mass public transit using clean sources of energy, energy efficient buildings. We need to preserve old growth forests, plant trees, create more green spaces, eat more plant-based foods, convert to sustainable agricultural practices, reduce consumption, reuse items, recycle, reduce our use of plastics, which are made from fossil fuels. So these are just a few that Greenpeace had on their website. I also spoke with students, Claire, Ben, and Madison at Brebeuf Jesuit High School, and asked them, you know, as the younger generation is coming up into the world, what are their ideas and suggestions? What do we need to be doing differently? And so Claire says, having hope is the only way to stay motivated to be active. She says, in the state of Indiana, I am not overly convinced they are going to make the changes that are necessary. But on the long-term global scale, with this generation accumulating more power, we are going to see an increase in climate acknowledgement, and I hope that turns into action. Ben's advice, just get involved, throw yourself into it, deepen your values. Really focus on educating yourself. Take some time to evaluate. How are you helping? What are you doing to make change? What are you doing that is not supporting necessary change? Claire says, getting involved in climate action is needed now more than ever, whether it's in your state or nation. You can find amazing groups, whether it's a group like Youth Climate Coalition, the Sierra Club, or Earth Charter. There are opportunities for you to get involved. Each voice matters and needs to be heard. And Madison concurs. You are never just one person. It's a matter of everyone and what our collective actions can do. So at the very back of the book, I have book discussion topics, hopefully for book clubs, because I feel like if we get together and we're discussing the things that were brought up in the book, and then we're also bringing to the table our experience, our knowledge, our skill set, and we can have these conversations and we can figure out what do we need to do in our schools, in our homes, in our businesses, in our nonprofit organizations, in our government, in our nation, in our local communities, in our world, right? And so as we come together, we can start addressing some of these things and then shifting into change and shifting into what needs to happen. So I will end with a quote by Buckminster Fuller, inventor, environmental activist. In order to change an existing paradigm, you do not struggle to try and change the problematic model. You create a new model and make the old one obsolete. Okay. That's how we subtitle Usher in a New Earth Era together. So thank you for being here, because it means you already care about the topic, and that makes my heart very happy. So thank you.